Hi, WINLESS SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. Today is Wednesday, April 13th, and we are doing a regular series preview call with SBR baseball handicapper and writer Ian Cameron, where we're going to take a look ahead to the upcoming series that go this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Ian Cameron, thanks for being back with us. The first series I want to ask you about, Mets at Cleveland. Now, the Mets were having some trouble winning. I believe they're winning today. They're looking like they're going to get a win right now. I actually had the under on that one, but the wind was blowing in. But before today, they were having some real problems winning. It was a tiny sample size, but they still had a terrible ROI overall on the year. Cleveland is kind of Cleveland. The issue, I guess, is just what's wrong with the Mets? Is it just a minor blip, and will they maybe go into Cleveland and have some value?
You know, the Mets are an interesting team to analyze here, Peter, because right now they're not hitting the ball extremely well. There's no denying that. It's been a little bit of a struggle at the plate for this team, and a team that I thought maybe be a bit better offensively than maybe some people thought coming into the season. But lately runs, have been a little tough to come by for this New York Mets team. I mean, coming into today's game, it's a team now that's lost 4 straight games to the Phillies and the Marlins combined, held to 3 runs or less in all 4 of those games. So the offense is a bit of a concern. Starting pitching-wise, I think they're going to be fine. I know, Matt Harvey didn't have a great start his last time out against the Philadelphia Phillies, but he's going to be okay. Noah Syndergaard has been terrific. I actually think Noah Syndergaard has the best stuff on this New York Mets rotation. From a straight stuff perspective, Jacob deGrom should be fine and do well. Steven Matt's a little bit of a tough outing last time out for him against the Marlins, but still he's a crafty lefty. I think he'll be good in time. I think it comes down to the bullpen and the offense. The lineup needs to be better. The bullpen depth is a concern for them. It's always an issue with the Mets last year and again this year is who's going to step up and get key outs late in games other than Urias Familia, the closer on this Mets team. He seems to be the only reliable shutdown arm, or at least one of the few reliable shutdown arms in that Mets bullpen that they have. So the thing that's going to be interesting to monitor with them in this Cleveland series, does the lineup step up? Does the bullpen do their job? Because offering support to Familia is going to be a big thing for them. They might offer value in this series because Cleveland, again, is a team that's going to have to pitch well to win games. That offense definitely misses Michael Brantley, who's been absent from that Indians lineup early in the campaign. The New York Mets are a team, though, that right now I'm not running to the betting window to support them, Pete, because they're just priced like, the National League championship team they were last year that went to the World Series. And just a little concerned, you're not going to get great value with the Mets even until they go on a maybe more prolonged skid or a more prolonged losing streak. So interesting series, but the Mets are a team that still, I think, is a little bit overvalued right now.
Okay, and then another team that's had problems winning that we all saw coming, Atlanta. They're going to be at Miami, and if you've bet against Atlanta every game so far this year, you have not lost yet. Eventually, they will win a game. When will that happen? Will that happen this weekend at Miami? Maybe, maybe not. Miami has, overall a quite impressive team in many respects, a team that looks like they shouldn't have that much of an issue sweeping a team like Atlanta. The issue is how big of a favorite will they be in all those games. They'll be a big favorite, but maybe not big enough. What do you think about just blindly betting Miami the whole series against Atlanta?
You know what, Matt? Atlanta's obviously in a world of hurt. If you have any interest out there as a bettor to bet on Atlanta, because there's going to be certain situations where they have some decent starting pitching matchups in their favor, but I think we're at the point now, and I've seen enough of Atlanta now the first week and a bit of this Major League Baseball season to know I want nothing to do with this lousy bullpen of theirs. How many times have we seen a close game or a game where the Braves have the lead in the later innings and the bullpen just completely cough it up and down the drain it goes? That's an issue. I think if you're going to look to support Atlanta at bigger underdog prices, say in a series like this against Miami, your edge, obviously, you believe lies with the starting pitching, because I don't think anyone can like this bullpen right now that they've got. Play Atlanta in the first 5 innings or leave the game alone. I think they're in one of those situations now where this bullpen has just been so bad, it's hard to trust them to get outs late in close games. So if you like Atlanta in this series in certain spots and matchups, look at the 5-inning line, because that bullpen, you'd really be more to your benefit to take them right out of play right now with just how badly they're struggling. Offensively, again, outside of Freddie Freeman, Nick Markakis, there's not a lot of quality bats in this Atlanta lineup. That's also an issue. The Miami Marlins have been, playing some decent baseball. They're a team that may be a little bit of a sleeper in the National League East this year. That's going to be something that is going to be interesting to monitor moving forward. They have a solid enough pitching staff. I mean, Jose Fernandez is going to have a terrific year as their ace, in my opinion. Wei-Yin Chen, I think, is a solid guy that they picked up from the Baltimore Orioles. He goes from Camden Yards to pitching in Marlins Park. That should be a benefit for him, considering he's more of a fly ball pitcher, a little bit more of a tolerable ballpark and a suitable, comfortable ballpark based on his pitching style. Back end of the rotation still has a couple of concerns for this Miami team, but they're certainly the better team offensively. I mean, if Giancarlo Stanton can remain healthy all season long and lead what's a solid lineup, in my opinion, this team should be able to score their share of runs. Again, you want to look at the starting pitching matchup game by game, because there's going to be a couple of decent Atlanta starters in this series. But again, my advice is Miami's probably the team you're going to have to look at from a full game perspective. Obviously, they're going to be priced pretty expensive in this series considering their opponent. But if you happen to be of the belief that there is value from a starting pitching matchup with Atlanta in some of the games in this series, take them in the 5-inning line, because that bullpen right now at this stage of the season, Peter, just a disaster waiting to happen. And I would want no part of my money tied up in that very ugly and awful-looking Braves bullpen at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be interested to see where those lines are, if they're comparable with the lines that we saw when Atlanta was at Washington. And then another series that's interesting, Toronto at Boston. And this series, at first glance, appears to have over written all over it, right? Boston's already gone over in 6 of their first 7 games. And I don't have to sell you on Toronto overs, although they're only 3-4-1 over-under so far this year. But obviously, they still have a huge lineup, even if it's maybe a tick less huge than it was last year. A lot of offense expected for this series, and maybe they won't be able to set the totals high enough. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of the Toronto offense. They've not performed quite as well to start this season as many people have expected. And what's weird is it seems once the games get into the 5th inning and beyond, that offense completely shuts down. Mm-hmm. I mean, their late inning offense has been really, really bad so far for the Toronto Blue Jays. We saw it again last night against the Yankees. I mean, 2 runs early in that game and not a smell, basically, the rest of the way. Shut down by that Yankee bullpen down the stretch of that loss to the New York Yankees last night. So Toronto's offense has been a disappointment. There's no question. Their bullpen's been a bit of a disappointment as well. We've seen some blown leads by this Jays bullpen early in the season, a bullpen that was terrific down the stretch, but a bullpen, that's lost Aaron Sanchez because he's now a starter, that Mark Lowe has left for another team, and now you're looking to get Drew Storen comfortable coming over from the Washington Nationals in that bullpen. You've still got Roberto Osuna, who's remains just fantastic as the closer for this team. But there are some depth issues with the Jays bullpen right now, and maybe guys in different roles that maybe they're not quite comfortable with yet is a reason why we've seen this team struggle a little bit from a bullpen perspective late in these baseball games. But the offense, to me, I wouldn't want to overreact to their early season struggles, particularly late in games. We know this lineup is still very potent. I think will come around in time. But as of right now, current form does mean something. And current form right now tells me that the Jays offense just isn't firing on all cylinders right now. Could be a concern here. Fenway Park has been just a godsend for the Blue Jays lineup in the past. They've put up some crooked numbers against Boston in this ballpark in years past. So if there's any setting and ballpark and opponent and matchup that can maybe get the Jays bats to wake up a little bit, it could be the Boston Red Sox, and a Red Sox team that from a starting pitching perspective been a little bit disappointing so far this year. When you look at Boston starting wise, how about a 7.32 team ERA right now for this Boston starting staff? We saw David Price get lit up the other day by the Baltimore Orioles. Clay Buchholz had a rough start last night against Baltimore, and go on down the list. I mean, there's guys in this Boston bullpen, especially at the back end. Stephen Wright, the knuckleballer, he's not a guy I trust to get outs against any potent lineup. I mean, there's some concerns right now with the Red Sox rotation, especially if you're seeing guys like Price and Buchholz, who they're counting on to deliver the goods this season, struggle. So runs, in theory, if the Jays lineup can maybe benefit from hitting in this kind of a ballpark, and the ball's been flying out of Fenway Park. Certainly it has been this week during that Orioles-Red Sox series. This could be the opportunity maybe to buy low on the Blue Jays offense right now, considering the early struggles they've had, particularly late in games. This could be the ideal stadium, the ideal opponent right now to turn things around. Boston pitching, particularly from the starters, hasn't been shutting down the better lineups in baseball through the first week or so of the season. That would be a big concern. So in theory, over the total between these two teams, certainly wouldn't talk anyone out of that opinion.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. All right, those were the three most interesting series from the upcoming weekend series that popped out to me. Is there anything else you'd like to bring to our attention that might be worth noting concerning possible future betting value this weekend?
Yeah, how about another rematch? I mean, the Jays and Red Sox were a rematch. We've also got a very good rematch in the NL West this weekend. Giants and Dodgers facing each other once again. They played at AT&T Park last weekend, and they're meeting up again at Dodger Stadium this weekend in the rematch. And I'm not sold on the LA Dodgers being the better of these two teams. I've been just drumming to death that San Francisco bandwagon right now. I like that team. Look what they did yesterday. Another 7-run outburst, a 7-2 win against the Colorado Rockies. You know, the starting pitching, you know, Johnny Cueto, Jeff Samardzija, guys that should boost that rotation definitely throughout the course of the season. It was a good outing from Samardzija last night. You know, you look maybe at the back end of the rotation, still a couple question marks, a couple guys a little older, banged up, dealing with injuries in past years like a Matt Cain. Like a Jake Peavy, certainly two guys that would concern me. But what I like about San Francisco is a pretty good bullpen. They've got enough, you know, top of the rotation starting arms to get by there. But the lineup to me is what's really impressed me. 1 through 9, a bunch of guys that can deliver quality at bats. And San Francisco too has done a great job not enduring many strikeouts. They have not struck out very often as a team at the plate so far this season. That they put the ball in play, which is definitely something you like to see. And I would look for betting value on this San Francisco team. I think San Francisco from a side perspective and over from a totals perspective in San Francisco games right now until the betting markets catch up and figure out how good this team is, particularly how much improved their offense is. Look for San Francisco from a side perspective and over the total in their games right now to offer betting value, specifically this weekend when they take on the Dodgers.
Yeah, I'm feeling the sort of the same way as you are about San Francisco. I actually cashed with them on their team total over in Colorado last night. Ian Cameron, thanks so much for your in-depth thoughts. As always, talk to you again very soon for the next round of series.